Do you ever notice how the moment you're about to walk into somewhere social, your body starts acting like you're about to enter a war zone? Like you're sitting in the car outside the function, the music is leaking through the walls, you can see people laughing in the windows, and your brain is doing that thing where it starts narrating your death in real time. They're gonna think I'm awkward. They're gonna notice I don't belong. I don't know what to say. What if I just stand there like an NPC? What if I say something stupid and it becomes a memory in everyone's mind and it haunts me for 10 years? And you look at your phone and you're not even doing anything on it. You're just holding it there like a shield. And you tell yourself the sentence that feels like an explanation and a diagnosis and an identity all at once. Yeah, I just have social anxiety. And I'm not saying you've never felt socially anxious before. Obviously, you have. We're all human. I'm saying be careful with the way you've started using that phrase, because some of you took a normal human fear, the fear of being judged by other people, and have turned it into a label of who you are. And that label, it's comfortable. It's sure, it's heavy, but it's comfortable. Because it gives you a reason to avoid the scary thing without actually feeling guilty. It lets you say, that's just who I am, instead of, that's just what I've been practicing. And this is where people get mad, because they think I'm trying to shame them. I'm not. I'm trying to hand your life back to you, because I've watched so many people waste years thinking they're broken, when they were really just untrained. And being untrained is fixable. Being untrained is hopeful, because it means that you're not doomed, but you're just inexperienced. And I know it sounds too simple. It sounds like one of those internet quotes that would be on a sunset background. But I'm telling you, the simplest things are usually the ones that we avoid the most. Because if it's simple, then it means you actually have responsibility. And responsibility is terrifying when you've been living your life in defense mode. Let me tell you a story. I remember being in college and walking into the dining hall. It sounds stupid, right? Like, it's a dining hall. People are eating chicken and rice and they're pretending to enjoy it. It's not the Met Gala. But I'd walk in and I feel like everyone could see my thoughts. Like there was a spotlight above my head. Like if I didn't walk in perfectly, if I didn't look like I belonged, the whole place would turn to look at me and be like, wait, who invited him? Who's this guy? And what's funny is I genuinely believed that. Like, not as a joke. My nervous system and my mind was convinced that that would happen. So I would do the smoothest thing that I could think of, which was avoid it. I'd go at weird hours when there wasn't many people there. I'd wear headphones and just ignore everyone. I'd sit in the same spot in the corner. I'd keep my head down. And then later I'd tell myself that I just had social anxiety. That's just who I was. Like it was a medical fact carved into stone. But one day I had this moment that embarrassed me in a good way. I ran into someone that I knew from high school, and they were one of those people who always seemed effortlessly social. Like, you know, just the type that walks into a room and the room warms up a little. And I said something like, man, it must be so easy for you. And they looked at me like I was the one being weird. And they said, easy? Bro, I overthink everything. Half the time I'm terrified you all hate me. I just still say hi. And that messed me up because it made me realize something that I didn't want to admit. A lot of people that I thought were confident were just people who kept moving when they were scared. They weren't fearless. They had just practiced not letting the fear control them. And I wasn't practiced. I'd built my entire personality around minimizing risk. So every social interaction I stepped into felt like stepping into fire, because I'd never let myself get burned enough times to realize that the fire doesn't kill you. You get uncomfortable, you blush, you fumble a sentence, you say you too and the waiter says enjoy your meal. And then the world just keeps spinning. Nobody writes a documentary about it. But in your head, it's like a life-ending moment because you treat social mistakes like they're proof. proof that you're awkward, proof that you're not meant for human connection, proof that you're different. And then you start collecting proof like it's evidence against yourself. And when you have enough evidence, you just stop trying, because why would you? And that's how people get stuck, not because they're broken, but because they build their whole identity around avoiding embarrassment at all costs. And embarrassment is the entrance fee to a social life. Nobody escapes it. The difference is that some people will pay it early and some people will pay it late. Some people will pay it every day. But if you refuse to pay it, you don't get access. You don't get access to the friends you want. You don't get access to love. You don't get access to certain opportunities. You don't get access to being known by other people, because being known requires that you be seen. And being seen is uncomfortable, especially when you don't trust yourself. And that's the root of it for so many people. You don't trust yourself in real time. You don't trust that you'll know what to say. You don't trust that you'll be able to recover if it's awkward. You don't trust that you can handle someone not liking you or rejecting you. So you do what any intelligent brain would do, and you try to control all the variables. You try to rehearse conversations in your head before they even happen. You script your personality. You try to pre-solve every outcome, and then you show up exhausted before anything even happens. Because that's why the simplest social interactions feel like you ran a marathon. Because you did run it. You ran it mentally. And here's the part that I need you to hear, because it's the most freeing thing in the world. Most people are not thinking about you the way you think they are. They're thinking about themselves that way. They're inside their own body with their own securities, inside their own "do I look weird" thoughts. The room isn't watching you. The room is a bunch of people trying to feel accepted by each other. And when you realize that, something shifts. It becomes easier. You stop seeing social situations as performance and start seeing them more as an exchange. Not how do I impress them, more like, can we connect? And that question changes everything, because impress makes you stiff, it makes you perform, but connect makes you curious. And curiosity is a cheat code socially, because you can be awkward and still be likable if you're genuine. You can stumble your words and still have a magnetic personality if you're actually present. You can be quiet and still be powerful if you're warm and people like being around you. But you can't be locked in your head and expect to feel connected. Because connection happens in the moment, not in a script that you've made up in your head. This is why avoidance makes things worse. Every time you avoid, your brain learns a lesson. Good job, we survived. But you didn't survive the social situation. You survived the decision to run away from it. So now your brain thinks avoidance is safety and exposure is danger. And the next time you're invited somewhere, it's going to feel even scarier, because your nervous system has been trained to fear social friction. So the anxiety grows, not because you're cursed, because you're actively reinforcing it. And I know that sounds harsh, but it's only harsh if you think that you're helpless because of it. If you realize that you've been training it, it becomes the opposite of helpless. It becomes empowering, because now you can just stop training that and start training something else. It's like you're at the gym and you have been training on one machine wrong for months, and someone points it out to you. And as embarrassing it as it is in the moment, now you can start using it correctly. Because social life isn't a personality trait, it's a skill. And skills don't care about your identity. Skills respond to reps. You don't become socially confident by waiting to feel socially confident. You become socially confident by collecting evidence that you can handle discomfort. And the evidence is always on the other side of action. It's never in your head. Your head's like a courtroom. It will argue forever. Your life only changes in behavior, not in theory. Let's get even more real, because I think people underestimate how much modern life contributes to this. You've spent thousands of hours talking through screens, texting, Instagram DMs, comments, quick little jokes, sending memes as personality substitutes, and that's fine. That's just part of life now. But screens let you edit yourself. They let you pause. They let you control the conversation. They let you disappear if you're just not feeling it. But real life doesn't. Real life is live. There's no drafts. There's no delete button. So if you're used to communicating in a world where you can curate your timing and your words, of course real life interaction is going to feel uncomfortable and intense. It's like going from a treadmill to a mountain bike. It's the same concept and the same movement, but your body's like, what is this? This feels different. And that doesn't mean that you're socially doomed. It means you're adjusting back to being a human. And here's another thing that nobody admits. A lot of people are terrified socially because they think that they always have to be entertaining to everyone. They think they have to be funny. They think they have to have stories. They think they have to be on. And they're exhausted because they're approaching connection and conversation like it's content creation. Your life isn't a podcast. You're allowed to be normal. You're allowed to pause. You're allowed to ask a dumb question. You're allowed to say, I don't know. The most socially powerful thing you can do is be comfortable with your mistakes. Be comfortable with not performing. But you can only do this by practicing being seen without performing. Which means having awkward moments, which means silence, which means a few conversations where you leave and go, that was kind of mid. Okay, cool. Most things are mid. That's not failure, that's just reality. And reality is kinder than your imagination. Your reality over-dramatizes everything. But reality is, I'll be honest, it's usually chill. Now, before someone clips something I've said and gets mad, let me say this clearly. If your anxiety is severe, like if you're having panic attacks, if it's tied to trauma, talk to a professional, seriously. I'm speaking to the majority of people who aren't clinically doomed. They're just stuck in a loop. And this loop is fear and then avoidance, which gives you temporary relief, but then it spirals and spirals into bigger fear over time. And the way out is uncomfortable, sure, but it's simple. You do small things that make you slightly uncomfortable until your brain completely relearns what safety actually is. Notice how I didn't say comfort, I said safety. Because safety is, can I handle this? Comfort is, I don't have to. Because safety is saying, I can handle this. But comfort is, I don't have to. And if you build your life around never having to, you're going to get nowhere and you'll eventually feel trapped because the walls are closing in. You'll start saying no to invites and then you'll start not getting invites. And then you'll tell yourself you're lonely because nobody cares. Bro, you've been rejecting yourself. You'll start resenting people and then you'll start to feel bitter because of it. And the whole time it started with not wanting to feel awkward for 10 minutes. And that's the trade. 10 minutes of discomfort for years of isolation. It's just not worth it. And it's painful to admit because it means that you had more control than you thought. But this also means that you can change it. Let me give you another story. I knew someone who always talked about being introverted like it was a cage. Like, I'm just introverted, I can't do that. And they got a job at a supermarket, and they were just stocking shelves. They rarely had to interact with people. But then as time went on, they got more and more responsibilities at their job. And then they started having to talk to people every day. Like, they had no choice or they'd lose their job. They had to greet customers, ask questions, have conversations with the customers, deal with awkwardness and conflict. And the first month was brutal for them. They were drained every day. They overthought every interaction. They went home and replayed everything in their mind. But then something happened around month 2. They stopped caring so much. Not in a cold way, but more in a way that set them free. They realized that most interactions are quick, and nobody remembers them, and it's not personal. They realized that the awkward moments just don't kill you. And they became one of the most socially smooth people that I know. Not because their personality changed, because their nervous system changed, because they got in the reps, and they stopped treating discomfort like it was a threat to them. That's what I want for you. I want you to stop treating normal human awkwardness like it's a diagnosis of who you are and limit yourself because of it. Because when you call something permanent, you act like it's permanent. When you call something trainable, you train it. And I want to go on a little bit of a different route here, but some of you are secretly addicted to the identity of being anxious. Not because you like suffering, because it gives you an excuse to not risk rejection. And rejection is the real monster here. Not talking, not saying hi, rejection. Because rejection feels like proof that you're not enough. So instead of risking proof, you choose isolation, thinking that that saves you. But isolation isn't neutral. Isolation is you rejecting yourself first before somebody else can do it. And it hurts worse in most cases because you can't blame anyone else for it. It's all on you. So you start to tell yourself a story like, I'm just not a people person. But you are. You want connection. You're human. That's why you're watching videos like this. That's why you feel the ache when you see big friend groups together acting happy. That's why you want love. That's why you want to be invited. That's why you want to be known. Because you're not a robot. You're a human being with a nervous system, and you've just learned to avoid. And avoidance isn't your destiny. So here's what I want you to do next time you're in that moment. You're outside the place. You're about to walk into the room. Your heart rate is up, your brain's spinning, you're overthinking everything. Instead of trying to calm yourself down with logic, do something different. Give yourself one mission. Not be cool or be perfect or make everyone like you, because that's impossible. One mission that makes you move. Go in and ask one person that you don't know a question. That's it. Because when you do that, when you ask someone a question, you shift your attention away from your performance and towards them and towards connection. And when you do that, something crazy happens. The room gets less loud. Your thoughts get less loud. People stop watching you. You start being inside your own life again. And the more you do that, the more you build the only thing that actually cures social fear. Self-trust. The belief that even if it's awkward, you'll be able to handle it fine. Even if you get rejected, you'll survive. Even if someone doesn't like you, well, you still like you. Because here's the ultimate truth. The goal isn't to be liked by everyone. That's physically impossible. The goal is to stop living like being disliked is death. Being disliked is normal. It's part of life. You don't even like everyone, so why are you demanding that everyone like you? And when you stop chasing universal approval, you'll get something better. You'll get real relationships. Because real relationships can handle awkwardness, they can handle silence, they can handle you being human. So yeah, you don't actually have social anxiety. For a lot of you, that sentence is going to make you mad until you realize that it's not an insult. It's an invitation to stop treating your fear like it's your personality, an invitation to stop living in a waiting room, an invitation to stop rehearsing your life and just start living it. Because your social life isn't built by thinking, it's built by showing up. And you don't need to do it perfectly, you just need to do it. One rep, one hey, one awkward smile at a stranger as you walk the other way, one conversation that isn't legendary, but it proves that you can be present. And those reps will compound over time until one day you'll look back and realize that you're not the same person that you were before. Not because your fear is gone. It might be, and that's great if that's the case. But because you stopped letting it drive, you stopped letting it take control. And if you're trying something new, like letting yourself be seen, even if it's just a little, just know, I believe in you. Have a good day.